Hey, you there. Thank you once again for watching the last part of this series that is called Paragraph Development. We are now talking about paragraph parts. And in this last video, I'm going to explain to you how to identify and how to write an effective concluding sentence. What ideas should be included in a concluded sentence, and at the end, how to identify one. I really encourage you once again to pay attention to the examples that I'm going to list. Now in this video, you're going to see two examples by two different writers in my class. And the two girls who have provided these very good examples made very good choices in both the topic sentence and the concluding sentence in order to make them match. Now, if you're ready, let's get started. What you see now is an explanation of the third part of paragraph writing, the concluding sentence, or the final idea of the paragraph. What is it for? Why do we need to conclude our paragraphs? Well, remember that a concluding sentence is used to signal that your paragraph is coming to an end. Failing to realize that it is used to close the final thoughts on a subject is a common mistake many writers make. We just want to end the paragraph. We finish, but we never said that we were concluding. So we need to give our readers a sense of ending, but an ending that has really reached an end. So how do we do that? Giving the paragraph a conclusion. For any piece of writing to be effective, there has to be a definite and a conclusive concluding sentence at the end. Why? Because you need to make sure that your reader understands what you have already said from the very beginning to the very end. A paragraph is something simple to be read, but sometimes it can be too complex to be written. Why? Because if you combine these parts well, there's no need for your reader to be asking what else, so what? But instead, being informed by just reading one single paragraph. Some traits need to be understood. These traits of a good concluding sentence can really help you also have the perspective of what you should see and what you should be ready to write when you are targeting for a very good concluding sentence. A concluding sentence could be an overview. Sorry, there's over twice there. It could be an overview of the points discussed in the paragraph, but should never include any new information. It's a conclusion, remember? It's not something you want to add for your reader to be interested in more. You just want to conclude your paragraph. The reader should be able to identify the key points in a text by reading the concluding sentence. That's why it is so important that it resembles the topic sentence. It recaps, in other words, it recaps the main topic of the paragraph at the end. And it is the last sentence of the paragraph. If we follow a logical order, we will have the topic sentence, the discussion, and finally the concluding sentence. Right? If you got it, let's continue. Are all the concluding sentences built in the same way? No. Concluding sentences do vary depending on the style and genre of the text. You will later study the paragraph styles. And when we talk about styles, we can talk about narration, description, illustration, persuasion, comparison and contrast, and definition, etc. There are at least 7 types of paragraph styles that we're going to study. So when writing a narrative, for example, the concluding sentence should be used to convey and emphasize the moral lesson to the reader. If the concluding sentence, for example, in a descriptive paragraph, is used to tie all information provided together by summarizing the support in different words. If you're writing, for example, a comparison and contrast paragraph, the concluding sentence is the best one that is used to just juxtapose the two topics to highlight the similarities or the differences that you have discussed along the paragraph. If you are writing argumentative texts, where you are, for example, persuading, or if you are providing information that you have listed and that you have probably supported with facts taken from the web or from a book, you will probably see that you should use a concluding sentence that will summarize an argument and thus over why the writer argument is correct and how the repercussions that will occur will happen, how they will at the end be, if the reader doesn't listen or if the argument is not taken seriously and the reader doesn't take any action. So every concluding sentence will match according to what you said at the beginning in the topic sentence and what your discussion was like. Having noted that, think of the concluding sentence as a very special sentence that will have some markers, some signal words that can help you identify it. When you end your discussion, you can use words like therefore, overall, in a nutshell, thus, as a result, finally, in conclusion, in short, lastly, last but not least, etc. And as I told you, the words that you're going to use depend a lot on the kind of discussion you have started. Now, can you see how this paragraph by Gabriela R. show how the topic sentence and the concluding sentence resemble? Take a look at this example. The most despairing day began on a December 16th, but has not reached an end yet. On December 16th, some time ago, my mom took her backpack and decided to take a dangerous trip. She decided to start her journey in seek of the American dream. Having no job opportunities, she backpacked the only things she could carry, such as water, cookies, toilet paper, and a cell phone to stay tuned. The trip lasted almost a month and a half, but I felt it was an eternity. The light luggage was not the problem. The real suffering came every day, but not knowing anything about her. Thank God she made it to the promised land she searched on January 20th. I finally received the call I longed so much for. The saddest day began and has not ended yet, since I cannot forget how sad my heart felt that day. As you can see here, Gavi R is providing us an example of how the topic sentence and the concluding sentence match. The most despairing day began on a December 16th, but has not reached an end yet. She says that the saddest day for her, the saddest event in her life began on a December 16th. But it started that day, but for her, in her heart, it hasn't finished. She's still living in that same day. In the sad day in which she had to see her mom go away, searching for the American dream. She provides a very detailed explanation of how the events happened, not all the journey, but in a paragraph, she has said a lot about what happened. When her mother went and the awaited call that she was really, really longing for in order to know if her mom was okay or not. At the end, she's saying, my saddest day began and has not ended yet. Once again, we're having the same idea that we had at the beginning. Since I cannot forget how sad my heart felt that day. As you can see here, the writer has provided us with a very good explanation of her feelings. And even though she has given us a narration or an illustration of her feelings on that special day, she has made it so good that both the topic sentence and the concluding sentence match equally. And as I have probably said in one of my videos, and if I have repeated this in class over and over, the topic sentence and the concluding sentence are not twins, but they are cousins because they resemble a lot. Even though they don't use the same words, they have the same idea. Why? Because the main idea should be taken at the beginning in order to control the paragraph discussion. And it should be used at the end in order to recap the point that we said. This is the main idea, so we should tell the reader, this is what I tried to explain to you. And this is what Gavi R did. Now, finally, we have reached the end of our discussion about paragraph development. And here we have some useful reminders. Let's see how much you remember from the discussion we have had and the series of 3 videos that you watched. What have we learned so far? First, the topic sentence. The topic sentence, remember, it should be specific, but not more specific than the details. And it should be narrowed down in such a way that we have just a single discussion. It is strong and it is the controlling idea. It should be at the beginning, and you should never forget that your topic of interest has to be clear. If you have an idea clear in your mind, then the list of details that you will have is going to really, really match that discussion that you provided from the very beginning in the topic sentence. Then we have the supporting sentences. The supporting sentences are these words, these ideas that have been come together and that have been put together in order to have the completion of the whole thought. The whole discussion is here. So like in a hamburger, all the pieces of meat, tomato, lettuce, mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, or whatever you like are placed in such an order that you enjoy that exquisite thing in your mouth. The supporting sentences should follow a very logical order. What kind of order can we follow? As I told you, it all depends on the style you're developing. But if your style requires you to use the order of time, then you should be very respectful in order to have the sequence, a logical sequence of events. If your paragraph requires you to describe or to narrate and to describe in detail and locate everything in a very spatial way, then you should respect the space order. So you will go from left to right, or from right to left, from top to bottom, or from bottom to top, or you will explain everything in detail, but you will make the reader see what you're seeing, okay? It's a matter of making him or her sense what you're sensing. If you want to cause an impact, if you want to persuade, if you want to inform people about what you want them to understand, you can probably use the order of climax, and you can begin with the least important ideas and end with the most important ideas, or the opposite. It all depends on your style and what you really want to say. Finally, the concluding sentence is the end of our paragraph. And it is not just the end, it is the conclusion, which means that we are developing a discussion and we just want at the end to recap what we said at the beginning. So similarly to the topic sentence, the main idea is present there again, probably using similar words. You can use synonyms or antonyms for expressing this last idea, but don't forget that you need to conclude, please. So finally, talking about the paragraph is talking about all the elements you see: the topic sentence, the supporting sentences or the body, and the concluding sentence. The paragraph makes a whole unit that develops one idea only. After we have understood how to develop a paragraph, then we can jump into essay writing. But it is very important that we understand the parts of the paragraph in order for us to see that there's a logical coherence, coherent, and unified sequence that develops a discussion, that explains something, and that the reader fully understands. Finally, once again, I bring you the example that you love seeing, this hamburger. Don't forget that you need to think of it as something that needs to be well balanced. If the paragraph is logical, if it is coherent, if it is adequately developed, and if it has all the elements you need to include, you will make sure that your reader is fully satisfied with it. And you as a writer will be fully satisfied with the things you are saying. So you won't have to make oral explanations about what you intended to say. The Hamburger Model is a paragraph writing organizer that visually separates the topic sentence, the body, and the concluding sentence. There you see that the topic sentence is a strong hook because it tells the main idea, that the body of your paragraph includes text, evidence, examples, major and minor supporting points, transitions that make the details, make the paragraph have a flow and a smoothness that will really connect the topic sentence and the details. And finally, to sum up or to wrap everything up, you will provide a concluding sentence, a closing sentence that will make the paragraph be concluded and not only ended. And we can add transitional words that can help us know that we are coming to an end. I want Miss to give you the last example by my last student, and this is Fatima V, who has written a very beautiful paragraph that provides information about her grandma's room. Take a look at it. It's a lovely paragraph, and even though this was just an assignment that the students had made with very little time for preparation, their skills have shown me that what we have studied in these videos and what we have studied in the classes is really making a very good effect into the writing pieces. Take a look at this. My grandmother's room is a very cozy place. Its light turquoise walls make it a very peaceful place to doze. Staring at those walls, I can help but see the portraits of the entire Vides family that make me feel accompanied. On the other hand, I really like the rustic touch that her antique drawers give it. It also has a rocking chair that transport me to her childhood anecdotes. I know it is a good place because her presence is always there, and I wish it were possible that by lying on her comfortable bed, I could acquire her wisdom and strength. Therefore, when in need of a quiet place, I go to the light turquoise room so I can feel calm. As you have probably noticed by the sentences that are in pink, we have made a differentiation between the rest of the sentences and these two, because this one represents the main idea, the controlling idea. Fatima chose to explain her grandmother's room, and her perspective is that the assignment was a room you have strong feelings for. She has a lot of feelings when being in her grandma's place because it is cozy for her, because it reminds her of her grandmother. But what is around has been described. How? She talked about the walls, about the portraits, about the rustic antique drawers, the rocking chair, and the comfortable bed. Providing a very short list of details, the writer provided enough for us to know a little bit about her grandma and her bedroom and how cozy it is. And at the end, she ended saying that when she is in need of a quiet place, she goes to this room that provides her so much calmness and so much coziness that she really wants to be there. So she started with the idea of her grandma's room being cozy, and she ended with the same idea. So Fatima here provided an explanation from beginning to end, and she never strayed from the topic, as our previous writers did in the other videos. Thank you very much to Carlos D, to Gabby G, and to Gabby Q, and Fatima V for making very good paragraphs and providing us with this one. I also thank the rest of my writers in my class because they also gave me very good insight for this. And even though I couldn't include all of the paragraphs, all of them gave me ideas for this. Thank you very much for watching. And if you have any question, you can write the comments below, or if not, you know what platforms you can find me in. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.